Okay, we're good to go. I'd like to call the meeting to order. You've all received the agenda. You had a chance to look through it. Any errors or omissions? Additions? No? Recommended that the agenda for the Police Services Board meeting of March 31st, 2022 be approved as presented. Could I have a mover? Mike Ostrander, seconded. Jeff Loshaway, all in favor? It's moved. Are there any declarations of interest? No. There are no presentations, no delegations. Let's move on to the minutes. Minutes of the meeting held March 1st. Again, any errors, additions, omissions? No? Okay, it's recommended that the Police Services Board minutes dated March 1st, 2022 be accepted and presented. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Jeff Loshaway, seconded by Mike Ostrander. Moving on to communications and petitions. Under action items, is there anything there? Anything under the information items? Wow. Then it's recommended that the information items be received, noted, and filed. Can I have a mover? Mike, seconded. Jeff Loshaway. All in favor? It is done. Moving on to reports, let's move on to the, did I miss the OPP CTSB memorandum?
Through you, Chair, that was under information items.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to the Police Services report for February 2022. Inspector?
Yep. No, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's going to be a pretty quick report this month, but I'm happy to go through it. So when we look at the February report, in terms of our violent crimes, they are trending downwards. We did have one assault and one other crime against person. So we had a total of 2 violent crimes reported in February, which was down from 5 for the same report period last year. And year to date, we are down about 61%. So year to date, if we take a look at basically January and February, we're down to 5 from a total of 13 for the same time period last year. So that is a trend in the right direction, which is something I'm glad to see. When we look at our property crimes, they are also trending downwards. We did have 3 theft unders and 3 frauds, and those were our only property crimes reported. Some of the theft unders are theft of catalytic converters, which is something that we're seeing province-wide and we are addressing. So we do have active investigations going on with those. And then our frauds were up from February last year. They're not up much, they're up to 3 from 1. And when we look at our year to date, it is up about 50%. So we are up a little bit in the fraud category, which is something we're seeing province-wide and Canada-wide for that fact. I think the last I saw, frauds were up 131% in Ontario. So they are up significantly and something we are turning our head to. Overall, though, our property crimes are trending downwards for the time period compared to last year. So last year during the same reporting period, we had 27 property crimes, whereas we're currently down to 11. So that's almost a 60% reduction in property crimes. So again, that's trending in a very positive manner. When we look at our drug trafficking charges, we are up a little bit. So our community street crime team did execute some warrants, which resulted in some drug traffickers being arrested, which is good. We are hovering very similar to the same thing for our year-to-date numbers compared to last year. We had 2 drug trafficking charges laid last year by this time. We're currently sitting at 3. So it is a small increase, but it's very similar to our year-to-date numbers from last year. When we're looking at our clearance rates, our violent crimes are sitting at 50% for the month of February. So basically our assault is cleared and our other crime against persons, which is a harassment or a neighbor dispute, that's sitting in an insufficient evidence to proceed. So it's a 50-50 split right there. Year to date, we are up slightly by about 13% for our clearance rates on our violent crimes. Our property crimes are sitting at 16.7% for the month of February, which is down slightly and down year to date. And that's because most of our frauds do remain unsolved. So that has a significant impact on our property crime clearance rates. Our drug crimes, there is no change. Well, it's sitting at 0%, which is strange because we laid drug trafficking charges. So I'm going to look into that a little bit. When we look at our the police service board report, we have had no public complaints for the month of February. In terms of our intelligence-led policing, we have 10 offenders currently registered in the program. Those are people released from the courts or through judicial release that have conditions to comply with that we do compliance checks on. We conducted 10 compliance checks in the month of February, and no offenders were observed violating any of those release orders. When we look at our activity reports, we had 89 cruiser patrol hours and 2 foot patrol hours. Now, those are lower than I would like to see them. However, of note, we had a significant provincial deployment to Ottawa because of the Freedom Convoy, which did occupy a lot of our resources and brought us down to, our minimum staffing levels. So there was not as much proactive activity in the month of February that I would like to normally see, but I expect that trend to change, and I will make sure that trend changes for month 3, March, and moving forward. When we're looking at our detachment initiatives, in the month of February, we had a release regarding investment fraud, several tweets for weather advisories because we did have some weather events in the month of February, and safe driving in those conditions. We did not have any break and enters in the month of February, therefore we had no safeguard offered. We now have a project safeguard, we'll call him a liaison officer. So he's going to be reviewing all break and enters and just making sure, even though we're offering safeguard at the initial investigation, we're going to be following up with these victims after they've had a day or two to kind of think about it and just re-offer it again, just to make sure we could do some target hardening on some of these victim residences and reinstill a sense of security in their properties. So we've identified an officer who's going to be taking that liaison role. So although there was none in February, I anticipate we'll have more positive referrals on this area because it is a great program for people to take advantage of. And then obviously we were supporting the Ottawa Police Service with Freedom Convoy. And we did, because the emergency order identified international ports as a high risk point, we did have a big contingent providing security to the CBSA port in Johnstown. So we did that pretty much for the entire month of February to ensure we had no international blockades. When we look at our call for service billing summary, I'm just going to go to the results page. Obviously, with the decrease in calls for service, we are trending downwards compared to the same time period last year. So last year we were just under 1,200 billable hours. Right now we're sitting at around 750. So we have seen a decrease in the overall call for service billing summary. Subject to any questions, that's the February report.
Thank you, Inspector. Does anybody have any questions, please? Mayor Todd? Nothing? Well, then, thank you very much, Inspector. It's recommended that the Police Services Board report for February 2022 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Mike Ostrander, seconded by Jeff Lashaway. All those in favor? Thank you. Do we have an update for the bylaw? Sean?
Certainly, I can take that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So winter parking, the restriction of not being able to park overnight ends today. As of the writing of this report, 34 tickets have been issued and 18 vehicles were towed. One of the things that we really stressed this year was spending the first kind of a good portion of November issuing warning slips, and so just to get people used to knowing that they can't park on the street. And our number of tickets and towed decreased significantly this year from previous years. So that's really what the goal and aim is to not ticket people and towed, but to ensure that we're able to clear the snow when we need to and remove it when we have large buildup. So I think that kind of public awareness campaign and portion really did a great job in the first part of the year, and then ticketed and towed when we absolutely had to. So we continue to coordinate with the OBP and our community members. Just in last month, the community services officer with the OBP has developed a form for to use with the municipalities, so that if the municipality comes across an incident, we can refer it to the OPP, and if the OPP has an incident that they need to communicate to the town, that there's a nice simple form to be able to do that. So really happy that that we're continuing to kind of have a holistic approach to dealing with issues, and a lot of times being able to help somebody from a mental health perspective or from a property standards perspective, and taking a holistic approach to that to really deal with the underlying issues, then I think is a great way that we can work together, and we'll continue to do so. And finally, animal control. By the kind of writing of this report, 141 tags have been sold, pet tags have been sold this year. This year is the first year where cats are also tagged. And really the goal of our animal control bylaw is to quickly identify the owner of the pet and get them back to their home. So that's what we're really striving for there. And so far we are moving towards, we generally have about 300 to 400 pets that are registered every year. And so we generally see that happen throughout the first 6 months of the year. So we'll continue working on that. And one of the things that we also changed in the new animal control bylaw is that you will get the tag the first time, and then it's just an automatic renewal each year thereafter. So being able to, we don't have to issue a brand new tag each and every year. So that's an important part of it as well. So that's the bylaw update for this month, and we're happy to answer any questions there might be. Thank you.
Any questions? No? Thanks, Matt. Let's move on. Anything under old business? Okay. Under new business, we have an item, Mad Canada signage. Inspector Kingsley, do you want to address that, or?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. Just one other thing I'll let the board know before I get into that, and I should have advised, is we were successful in obtaining a grant for a mobile crisis response team from the provincial government. So we will be expanding. We currently have access to a part-time nurse who works with our mobile crisis response team, and we're going to be expanding that to have a full-time nurse and a part-time nurse. So we'll be able to expand this program, which has been greatly successfl for us. So that's a great thing. That's for the entire county, but obviously Prescott is a huge area for us. So that's a great thing. Getting into the ride, or getting into the Mad Canada thing, impaireds, it's 2022, but impaired driving continues to be a big issue. I think last year we had 52 impaireds within Grenville County. Right now we're sitting at 15. So if this trend continues, we're going to see an increase from last year, which, with the public information that's out there and the dangers of impaired driving, we would hope to see a downward trend. So I reached out to Mad Canada because I did have a partnership with them already when we installed free signage on most of the piers to create awareness about impaired boating. But right now they do have a program which Mad Canada funds, which allows a partnership with the police and the municipalities to create awareness signage, just to generate that. A lot of people are still nervous about calling in suspected impaired drivers for some reason. We do get a lot of them, but this is free signage that the that Prescott could take advantage of. And I believe Emma Leclerc did send out examples of what that signage looks like. It's your typical safe roads, call 911, and then it would have the Prescott logo, Mad Canada logo, and then the police and jurisdiction logo. So we could have those signs designed. Mad Canada would pay for the signs, and then they would partner up with their MTO partners to have the signs installed. And just because Prescott is such a hub, I mean, a lot of your surrounding communities are coming here for shopping. It just, like when I looked at the impaired driving for Prescott, we were sitting at 2 for year to date. So it's not a significant number of impaired driving calls that you're receiving within Prescott, but the surrounding communities are getting some. So just to create that awareness of people to know to call the police, it is always going to be a good thing. Any questions on that? Like the program is free, so it's a great program to take advantage of. It creates public awareness and increases public safety. I think it's a good thing to get involved with.
Any thoughts or questions? No. Well, excuse me. How would we, would you work in conjunction with Matt or with Sean on this one? I think it's placement of signage. I mean, we don't want to be sign polluted.
No.
Some communities you go into, like, you have to stop to read all the signs.
Yeah. Yeah, this would be, I would think, like you'd want one sign. You'd probably want 3 signs for Prescott. You'd probably want one at either end of King, and then one near County Road 18 coming into the town. And that would be pretty much it. You wouldn't want those smaller reflective galvanized steel signs within the municipality. I think just the 3 entry points, or the 3 common entry points. And really all we would need is a high resolution image of the town logo. I would supply that to MAD with the high resolution OPP logo. They would design the sign. We would pass that by the board or the town to see if they're satisfied with the look of the sign. Mad Canada would sign off on the final layout just to make sure it meets kind of their standards as well. And once both parties are in agreement, they print it, they get it all developed and designed, and then we have the ultimate final say on where those signs get installed. So once the town would make that determination that they're satisfied with the locations, Mad Canada would proceed and get that taken care of.
Okay. Lindsay or Matt, do we need a motion, or can we just give a verbal go ahead?
Yeah, we'd be happy to receive a formal motion for us to move forward with that. And I think that's a great initiative, and we'd be happy to support it.
Okay, we could do that then. And are there any other questions for the inspector? No. We do the motion now, or do you want to do it later? Or
Through you, Chair.
yes,
I've drafted a motion. I can read it, and the board can let me know if it kind of encompasses what we've discussed here.
please.
That the PSB direct staff to work with the OPP and Mad Canada to develop and design signage regarding impaired driving in the area.
Any additions to that, or?
I think it sounds good.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I may, we are going to see what the signage looks like before it goes back up. I just want to be sure about that this is going to be a message about the dangers of drunk driving and not a political message from MAD. Yeah,
no, the canned messages are report suspected impaired drivers, call 911. The other message is typical, and the board will get the preview of it prior to it being approved. The other one that's typical is safe roads, your call 911, call 911 to report a suspected impaired driver, and then it has the 3 logos, the town, the Mad Canada, and the local police.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yes, Lindsay.
Sorry, and I can add that onto the motion as well, that the draft version of the signage come back to the PSB for final approval as well, if we'd like to have that.
Yeah, please. Okay, do you want to read it then?
Sure. So the recommended motion I have is that the Prescott Police Services Board directs staff to work with the OPP and MAD Canada to develop and design signage regarding impaired driving, and that the draft signage be brought back to a future Prescott Police Services Board for final approval.
Do we have a mover? Mike Ostrander, seconded by Jeff Loshaway. All those in favor? Motion's passed. Thank you, Inspector.
Thank you.
Should we include some of that into the PSB service announcement, or do we have any other ideas for the PSB service announcement? It's open.
There's always lots of different ideas, but I mean, impaired driving is on the rise, and now that we're starting to open up things more, we're seeing increased traffic flows. So if we want to tie in those kinds of road safety messages, because people are out more now, like we are seeing an increase in our traffic volumes right now. So having those road safety messages might not be a bad thing. You know, reduce impaired driving, aggressive driving, those kinds of things. It is going to fall in nicely because Easter is coming up in the month of April, and we do have our road safety campaign starting, like our provincial traffic campaigns during that time period. So having that similar messaging, because that's what our messaging for the month of April is going to be, is regarding road safety and traffic safety, and the primary focus is going to be on seatbelt use to prevent deaths and collisions, because we have seen an increase in that provincially. Deaths resulting in lack of restraints. So if we had a similar message from the board, that might not be a bad thing.
Let's work on that. Anything to add from board members? No? Well then, I guess the next item would be the adjournment. There's nothing else. I notice we have down here for April 28th. I'm not available then. Is the 21st okay, or we could still have it on the 28th? I just won't be there.
The 21st is fine for me.
Board members?
I'm okay with the 21st.
Okay. Mayor Todd? Okay, I take that as a yes. Okay, it's recommended then that this meeting adjourn to Thursday, April 21st, 2022 at 8:30 a.m. Can I have a mover? Moved by Jeff Loshway, seconded by Mike Ostranders. All those in favor? And it's 8:54 a.m. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. Be safe.